Oh, yeah. How do you deal with a narcissist? Um, Such an interesting question. And there's a lot of literature and videos out there that talk about the different ways to deal with the narcissist, such as the gray rock method, taking your power back. Yeah, I feel like if you're going to stay with the narcissist, that's a completely different talk. I personally don't recommend that you remain with a narcissist, but we all have free will. So to each his own or her own. The thing is, I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I'm a big advocate for marriage and the union of marriage when it's healthy. But when you're in a romantic partnership with a narcissist, there's no way you're going to ever experience equanimity, balance, equality, fairness, and love. Now, we know that narcissists are not only romantic partners, right? They can be your boss, they can be colleagues, they might be your siblings, they can be friends or frenemies. There's so many different ways that narcissists show up, and there's so many of them in the world. I don't know if there's more of them in the world now, or if we just didn't realize what we were dealing with maybe when we were younger. But this talk isn't so much about what to do to deal with a narcissist or even how to set boundaries with a narcissist. This is more about clearing the energy of the narcissistic mental construct from your psyche, your heart space, and your own energy field. Basically, when you have found yourself in an experience with a narcissist, if you manage to get out of that, oftentimes, you might vow, I'll never be in a situation like this again. And yet most people who have dealt with narcissists have found that it's a cycle that's repeated itself multiple times, whether it was in love or acquaintanceship. Why is that? Why is it that you might keep experiencing these narcissistic people? What is it? So let's talk about that. First of all, if you've drawn a narcissist into your world and you are tolerating that experience, it's because on some level you've been conditioned to do that. So let's first talk about narcissism. It's a personality disorder, it's a characterological disorder, and it's a mental construct. It's a mental construct that the narcissist has, but there's also a very interesting mental construct that begins to develop for you as you're interacting with the narcissist. So when you have an experience with narcissists, it's like a maze that you can't conquer. It's a puzzle that can't be solved. It's like it's designed to cause you to fail. You're not going to win when you're dealing with a narcissist. And I don't want to sound pessimistic, but we've got to be realistic. We're dealing with personality disorders. And when we're dealing with personality disorders, most of the time you're not going to change the person's core. And you can't make somebody have empathy. Either they do or they don't. You can't make somebody have remorse. And so what you have to understand is when you interact with a narcissist, to some degree, it's a setup, because if you do not comply and do exactly what they want, they will either leave you or they will punish you emotionally. And what happens is you will work harder to try and please them. You have to understand narcissists select a very specific type of personality. Most of the time, people who are people pleasers, but I don't mean weak when I say that. I mean like overachiever types. You want to do good. You like to keep your house clean, and you like to do the right thing, and you really want to show up. And so the narcissist recognizes that, and they pick you and they love bomb you. And the next thing you know, you think you found something that's a match, and come to find out it's going to be a disaster. But because you initially thought it was aligned with the love bombing, and what seemed like matched energy, you'll work even harder to try and get back to those original experiences where you felt like they honored you and saw you for who you are and they respected you. You can't stand feeling like you're on the outside and you're out in the cold and that they don't want you and you don't have favor from them. And so let's go back to the original narcissist in your life, because there's a reason why you tolerate this current narcissistic situation. There's a reason why you try so hard despite how mean they are and how they criticize you and how they make you feel. And it usually goes back to an experience in early childhood, whether it was a caregiver, a parent, a grandparent, maybe a coach. But usually there was either a narcissistic early caregiver in your life, or there were people that were very hard to please. If they weren't full-blown narcissists, they were very hard to please, maybe very critical. And so you were conditioned, many of you, most of you, at a very young age to work harder to get affection, attention, and approval. This was a big setup. You didn't even realize that mental constructs were being developed at a very young age. And you were, to some degree, hardwiring to this belief that you have to work hard to prove that you are worthy and that you are valuable. Of course, that was never true, but on a subconscious level, that early experience with that first narcissist or hard to please person wired you to believe that it was absolutely true. So now coming back to the present day, and you find yourself cycling in these patterns where it's like narcissist after narcissist, whether it's a love relationship or work experience or so-called friends, whatever it is, however the narcissistic mental construct is showing up in your life, you have to be the one to go back and break up with that original narcissist. You are the one who has to clear your energy field from all the residue that they left in your heart space, your psyche, and your own energy field. So how do you break up with that original narcissist? How do you release the cycle? How do you even end the cycle for good so that you don't continue, to cycle? You've got to clear that energy from the first wound. So if you can either journal or maybe in meditation or prayer, or maybe work with a counselor, therapist, or life coach, if you can do it on your own or you can do it with someone, but you want to find that original narcissistic person or hard to please person that showed up in your life at a very young age, and you want to see if you can find that first wound where you felt your best wasn't good enough and that you had to work harder. You had to do better because you were trying to show up. You were trying to please them. You were doing your best. And you discovered it wasn't enough. What you thought was okay was not enough. And you integrated that you are what you do. And if you can't show up and be the best and do the right thing, you have no value. So you have to go back and find that first wound from that original narcissistic person. And you have to give yourself permission now in a new unit of time to clear the energy by simply saying, hey, so-and-so, situation, circumstances around this experience in my life. I am worthy. I was worthy. I was a person of value then, and I'm a person of value now. And I am no longer going to allow your feelings of insecurity or judgment or criticism or misery or whatever was going on with you that caused you to feel like you had to treat me in such a way. I am no longer giving you that power. I am taking that power back completely. I am releasing you from ever again having any power over me and how I feel about myself. You don't get that power. That's my energy. That's my power. I did do my best to please you, but I realized that there was never going to be an opportunity for me to truly please you unless I was doing exactly what you want. And that is something I couldn't predict consistently. So it was a setup for failure from the beginning. So guess what? I release you, washing my hands of it, and I forgive myself. I release you, initial narcissistic person in my life. And I forgive myself, even though I was very young. I forgive myself for believing that your opinion mattered. I forgive myself for allowing myself to develop people-pleasing tendencies, low self-esteem, and a feeling of lack of self-worth because of what you did, what you said, how you treated me. I forgive myself for allowing you to have that power. And now in a new unit of time, let's clear the energy. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Breathe into that initial wound, whether you can find it consciously or it's lingering in the subconscious. Your heart knows, your nervous system knows. Trust me, there's parts of your brain that know exactly where that first wound happened. Breathe, breathe. Let's clear the energy. Breathe into it. Release the residue, release the density, release the heaviness, release that belief that you had to work harder to please people that were never, ever going to be pleased. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Clear that energy, release yourself, release yourself. Give yourself permission in this new unit of time to end the cycle, to let go of the patterns that no longer serve. You are not required to tolerate narcissistic mental constructs, okay? You're not required to tolerate their dysfunctional personality disorder. They need to go get their own help instead of being an energy vampire that is sucking life out of you, draining you of your vital life force. But you also have to take full responsibility and be accountable to yourself for the way your mental constructs have been rewired, contaminated in dysfunctional ways by putting up with people with personality disorders. Free yourself. Free yourself. Clear your energy field. Free yourself from being caught up in the maze that can't be conquered. The mental issues, the mental dysfunctions, the mental constructs, the personality disorders, and the mind control games. Let it go. Repattern. Free yourself. Let's clear the energy. Anchor in the new. Ground and be at peace.